The hell are you supposed to be?
I'm Batman. I'm Batman. Now I know that is a bold claim to make. In fact, I can already hear people rushing to the comments to declare that actually Half Life Alyx is still the best VR game of all time, but just hear me out. It's been 5 years since Alyx released, and in that time, VR games have actually evolved. Half Life Alyx may have set the bar for immersive gaming back in 2019, but in 2024, Arkham Shadow raises that bar entirely. And in this video, I want to highlight the specific reasons why. In case you're new here, hi, I'm Virtual Bro. This is my channel dedicated to recommending noteworthy VR games. So if you're curious about virtual reality or ever in need of a recommendation, click that subscribe button so you'll get notified when I upload. By the way, have you seen a guy dressed up as Bat?
You know, if I squint my eyes, I can still see a Gotham worth fighting for. Even tonight.
Okay, that clip that just played actually reminded me I should set your expectations for this video because I don't plan to talk about the same things every other review has pointed out. Yes, this game perfectly captures the essence of the mainline Arkham games. Yes, the voice acting, story, and sound design are all AAA quality. If you watch 5 minutes of gameplay, you'll be able to tell that this is, without a doubt, a fully produced Batman Arkham game through and through.
Smoke!
But simply watching a video doesn't capture what it feels like to actually play. So I want to talk specifically about what makes this game work so well exclusively as a VR game. Things like the full player body, the interactive cutscenes, the implementation of motion controls, and a few other smaller details as well that all add up to make this one of the most immersive games I've ever played.
I placed an officer undercover. Where? Stay down! Are you hit?
Also, by the way, the footage you'll be seeing is from the first 2 hours of the game, so no major spoilers here. But let's go ahead and start at what you'll notice first. Your body. Be the Batman has been the tagline for the Arkham franchise for as long as I can remember, but no game comes this close to living up to that. When was the last time you looked down at your feet and saw yourself wearing a fully realized batsuit? Unless you're a professional cosplayer, the answer is probably never. While at first this might seem like a small detail, this body is genuinely such a big part of what makes you feel like Batman. Especially when you compare it to the 2016 Arkham VR game where all you had were the floating gloves. Seeing your full gauntlets, the bat symbol in your chest, your legs extending in front of you when you slide, even the small squat you do when absorbing the shock of a fall, it's details like that that give you a genuine sense of presence in this game. Goodbye, batsuit. Oh my gosh, look at the way the fingers react.
A few moments later.
Oh my goodness.
I'm gonna touch everything.
Now you might be thinking, Virtual Bro, so many VR games have full player bodies now, what's the big deal? Well, first of all, thanks for asking. Second, the inverse kinematics are some of the best I've ever seen. For those who don't know what inverse kinematics are, it's basically a fancy term for the math and calculations that the game has to do to determine where the rest of your arm should be in relation to your hand position. It's what makes your elbows bend in VR games when you move your hand closer to you. And I've gotten several comments in past videos where people say that they prefer to have floating hands in VR since their virtual arms never line up with their arms in real life, which is a fair point, but that is not really an issue here. And for a game where the combat mostly revolves around punching criminals in the face, that is such an important thing to get right. And that sense of immersion extends to almost every single aspect of the game, whether it be the stealth sections where you're physically choking guys out, or the more scripted segments like the interactive cutscenes. Very minor spoilers, but this is my absolute favorite moment right here.
What's the target?
You're too late. Shrike already left. You can't stop this, Batman. This is bigger than any of us.
strike! What's the target? Enemy!
Seeing the pure terror in that guy as I approached him and lifted him against the wall to interrogate him, I genuinely have never felt more like Batman. It gave me chills. And that leads me to my next point, the amazingly smooth animation that goes into making all these actions feel intuitive and natural.
Really bad.
One of the things I hated most about Asgard's Wrath 2 is the way it felt like every cool action you performed was so automated and restrictive. It often felt like you were on rails meant to make everything feel as static as possible so as to avoid making people motion sick. Even the recent Metro Awakening game suffers from this problem where rather than actually jumping over a gap like a normal human would, you basically just teleport over it instantly. It's moments like that that tend to take me out of even the most immersive VR games, but every action you do in Batman Arkham Shadow has a realistic sense of weight and smoothness to it, and I think it's because of a combination of the character animations and the way the camera smoothly transitions between them. There's this quote I really like from one of the developers where he's explaining that
the whole idea was unlocked when our design director on the game, Ryan Darcy, said, "Batman doesn't walk across the room, Batman punches across the room."
And I honestly can't think of a better way to describe how it feels, but I actually think there's more to it than has already been said. This combat system isn't just an impressively faithful adaptation of the Arkham free flow system, it's a genuinely brilliant way to bridge the gaps that traditional melee combat in VR has. And for me, I think a big part of it has to do with the fact that
Batman doesn't kill people.
Because he's a pussy!
in a game like Blade and Sorcery, it's pretty immersive that when you stab someone in the face, they die right away. I like that. It would feel weird if it didn't work that way. But once you learn that, it also kind of trivializes combat. And as much as I love shooting guns in VR, and I made a whole video about it, every VR shooter starts to feel the same after a while since the basic mechanics of shooting and reloading are often so similar across different games. But Batman hates guns, and Batman doesn't kill, and as a result, that provides a totally unique gameplay experience for most VR games.
If you find anything misdirected from his business, report it immediately.
So really quickly, allow me to explain why Batman is the perfect character to embody a VR game. Number one, non-lethal solutions. I think choking out guys and beating them to a pulp just feels more tangible than insta-killing enemies with a headshot or a backstab. There's this mechanic when doing a stealth takedown where you actually have to move your arms back and forth as if you're choking them out, and I think that is such an immersive mechanic. That's so cool. The second reason is the gameplay variety. Batman is a martial artist, a stealth predator, and the world's greatest detective, and all three of those are vastly different playstyles that you can incorporate throughout the game.
I'll need to search for more evidence, setting up a perimeter. Nitrocellulose, highly flammable, and extremely dangerous in large quantities. Shrike could have been using it to build a bomb. I should keep looking.
Third reason is the range of movement is perfectly suited to be more comfortable in VR, especially when compared to the other most popular superheroes like Spider-Man. If you tried to make a Spider-Man VR game, 90% of people would either be throwing up or the game would be totally lame, like that one free Far From Home experience. And lastly, the gadgets. Batman is known for having all kinds of cool tech and gadgets that he relies on.
Your classic arsenal. A blast from the past, as it were.
And that is a great way to introduce unique puzzle mechanics and even offers an in-world explanation for the heads-up display you see. And speaking of gadgets, hey Alfred, is there any kind of cool gadget that could help me grip these controllers better?
Master Wayne, if I may draw your attention to this particular accessory, the Kiwi Design G4 Pro Controller Grip. I believe you'll find it quite an improvement over previous models. First, the knuckle straps. They've been crafted from a new mixed weave nylon and polyester blend. It's soft to the touch touch, yet durable enough to withstand the wear and tear of extended use. Another thoughtful addition is the open battery door design. This allows you to quickly swap them out with minimal effort. I trust you'll find it to your liking.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Alfred. These are exactly what I need to throw harder punches against the criminals of Gotham. And luckily, you don't have to be a billionaire like Bruce Wayne to afford gadgets like these. During Kiwi Design's Black Friday sale, you can get their Quest 3 accessories for up to 20% off, and their Quest 2 accessories up to 40% off. Thanks again to Kiwi Design for their continued support of my channel. Now back to pretending I'm Batman. Okay, no, so far I haven't said anything negative about Batman Arkham Shadow, but I will go ahead and say it. The game is not perfect. There are times where the interactive cutscenes can feel jarring when they take control away from the player. The graphics are super impressive for standalone hardware, but still feel a generation behind. And some more personal nitpicks like, number one, the immersion-breaking pause menu. So like you have all these immersive gadgets, right? Everything's stored on your body. It's all super cool and immersive, but when you pull out the map, it just completely pauses the game and puts you in a little random environment. Normally I wouldn't care about a pause menu, except that this is how you check the map and equip upgrades, and I feel like it completely takes you out of the experience. I would have preferred a hologram on Batman's gauntlet for the map, and for the Batsuit upgrades, imagine if you actually had to visit the Bat computer in the Batcave and do it from there. Maybe if there's an animation to go with it or small changes in your suit to reflect those upgrades, that would be really cool too. My second nitpick is that parrying isn't as satisfying as it could be. You kind of just flick your arms in one direction or the other, and the enemies just stumble back. It looks especially awkward if you parry while facing the enemy directly. It would have been much cooler if when reaching out to parry, you actually caught their punch and could either throw them or counterattack from there. At first I thought maybe they didn't do this because it would be too jarring to have the player suddenly locked into a kind of animation, but this happens all the time with different combos and takedowns, so I wouldn't think it would be that different.
Waste of time.
And my third nitpick is that grappling and gliding with your cape is so fun, but I feel like you rarely do it because of how confined the levels are. So I really hope they take the solid mechanics they've established here and flesh them out more for an open world sequel. Maybe it's too much to ask for a Batmobile, but even just gliding around Gotham City, oh, that is something I absolutely need to experience in VR. Every time I play Arkham Shadow, I get so many ideas for what they could do with the gameplay foundation they've created here. It's almost hard not to see the potential for so much more. And I think that's a testament to how solid that foundation is. The game was clearly made by people who have been playing VR for years, who understand its limits and what they need to do to get around them. This is one of those rare VR games that I feel like is both exciting and immersive enough for experienced VR players to enjoy, while still being super intuitive and accessible enough for brand new VR players. But if Batman Arkham Shadow proves one thing, it's that VR is growing up. You should watch that video if you haven't already. I'm super proud of it. I made that before Arkham Shadow even came out because I just knew this game would be a milestone for VR. In my opinion, this game really does live up to the hype, and I promise I'm not being paid by Meta or anyone to say that. Speaking of being paid though, huge shout out to my virtual bros on Patreon for supporting the channel and for helping me decide what videos to make. You can subscribe there for just $1 to see all my posts and vote in the polls, or you can subscribe here on YouTube for absolutely free. Thank you for watching this video all the way until right now. You could have clicked away sooner, but you didn't, so really, thank you. I'm Virtual Bro, and I don't have an outro, so I'm just gonna explode now.